Welcome back, everyone, to Hearthstone Grandmasters Week 3, game number 1 kickoff. It's the final week of Phase 1 of the competition, Stage 1, where we get to see who is going to be seeded for the very important Division A, Division B split. Our first match of the day is killinallday versus Muzzy. But before we do that, I want to talk about today's fact in history on August 28th, 2020. TJ, it was the kickoff, the beginning of the Gay Games in San Francisco, which is really fun to show people from all kinds of backgrounds be able to enjoy some games or competition or sporting events however they want to see fit. And we have a bunch of different people from many backgrounds here in Hearthstone Grandmasters, and I expect to see some more of it here as we look at Muzzy playing the Priest and killinallday with the Mage. TJ, this is actually a matchup, by the way, that we practiced. And it feels like there's some interesting stuff in killinallday's deck in particular, which was kind of a debate, right? Whether or not we want to do killinallday's deck list as a spotlight, or do we want to do ETC's Druid as a deck list of the day. But there's some spicy stuff here coming from killinallday's lineup, featuring cards like the Archmage Antonize and Boom Pistol Bully in his secondary.
Yeah, I talked with them a little. Oh yeah, I don't think I can analyze any further, Dan.
That's right. Looks like the mustache
I've been halted
is
in my
back.
tracks. The
One
mustache.
more season.
It stuns
That's right.
me. It's super effective.
That's right.
I love it.
Freeze
love
TJ
it.
for one turn.
Oh man. All right. Well, yes. Killinallday, when I asked him, he did say that the secondary deck with the Boom Pistol Bully and Archmage Antonize was for priests and druids and turtle mages. So, but it does make the deck kind of slow. Killinallday also has a couple of inclusions that aren't seen on like popular ladder deck lists, or are starting to be more seen in popular ladder deck lists, like mirror images. Which I actually really like. In testing, it seemed like a good card because it can kind of protect your some of your key minions, like even just lab partners for spell damage minions. It can give them some much needed time to sit on the board, get you some value from cards like Cram Session and other things. So it's also a nice card to dump that you don't have to have a target for, that you only have to have board space for, which you usually do in the early game for mana cycle. So, killinallday, instead of going for Cram Session here, just going to remove this Set the Go Weaver with the Ray of Frost. I like the decision to go for this just because of how much value Set the Go Weaver can get. And surprisingly, even from our practice, this does come down to a value matchup in a lot of instances.
Yeah.
And you need to kind of shut off the engine from the Priest in order to try and... You at least have to stay even in the early game in order to have a chance. Because if you fall behind, then you're just going to spend the entire game trying to remove their minions and never be able to get them.
Yeah, I agree. I think that there's a surprising amount of tempo that the Priest can generate, despite the fact that Mage tends to be the more proactive player. And speaking of, killinallday trying to draw his cards, finds cards like Mana Giant, Jandis, and Raz. Proactive cards, but a little bit too expensive. And that's another thing that I feel like we encounter with this Mage deck when we play it or kind of watch it being played, that sometimes there's just awkward hands that are very clunky, and while you're trying to normally drive tempo, sometimes you have unplayable hands that get very awkward, and that lets the Priest player extend more onto the board. All right.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the Wretched Tutor plus Raise Dead is a board clear that allows him to break open his Mind Flayer. Cabal Acolyte with Wave of Apathy, I feel like while it's a good, or like Cabal Acolyte with Raise Dead, while I feel like it is a good tempo tool, it's also super important to be able to steal their mana giant turns later on in the game. I guess since killinallday is on his primary deck, the density of the threats in his deck is pretty low. And actually, this is smart, not actually getting rid of it at all, just kind of trying to preemptively place this Cabal Acolyte on board so he can trade over and isolate something next turn. Mm-hmm. This is smart because now killinallday really has to address this or not develop into it.
Yeah, how do you react to it? Looks like he's just going to go ahead and proactively place this Jandas Barav. Summoning 2 random 5-cost legendary, or 5-cost minions. Finds a legendary in Barista Lynchin, but obviously not going to get a use out of her battle cry. Interesting too, because of the threat of AoE, that could hit the Stranglethorn Tiger. So while it is a stealth minion that can't get targeted, you don't want it to be vulnerable and then as a result die. I do think Killen might probably chose the Barista Lynchin, but I would be interested if you end up choosing the Stranglethorn Tiger there.
What is a loon's will?
Okay, so now we had a chance to play AoE. This turn, AoE still seems entirely reasonable. There are ways to manipulate things like Wave of Apathy as well to try and steal a good minion. So what's the best way for Muzzy to sequence this? Does he just choose to play Wretched Tutor and try to clean up the board? Or does he try to capitalize on Wave of Apathy and the spell burst of the Cabal Acolyte?
That one's tough, because if he plays Wretched Tutor first, then he's curating the board to get what he wants. But also, he could just be killing off the minion that he gets and damaging the minions that he has.
Right.
Which would make him fall behind on tempo even more. So it honestly feels like it's better to just, hold on to the Wretched Tutor, because no matter how he does this turn here, he's ahead, right? He has enough minions to be ahead on tempo.
Right.
And he doesn't want to ruin that tempo by playing the Wretched Tutor. So just taking the consistent line and playing out the minions is like the best case.
Yeah. I definitely agree with that. This board is a little vulnerable to a card like Frost Whisper, but it does require killinallday to have 3 damage off of that AoE instead of just 2. That spell damage does buff Raz's AoE at the end of your turn, very similar to like an Altruist, the Outcast from Demon Hunter. It hits every minion and the enemy character. But with only 2, it does feel like it would leave up a bunch of 1-health stuff. killinallday picks up Evocation, which could theoretically give him the exact answer that he's looking for, but it's too expensive, and he's not going to be able to probably tempo the Mana Giant afterwards. So it seems like instead he's going to weaken the board a lot and see how Muzzy reacts.
Yeah. It's just not falling behind on tempo. At least while he can. There will be a point where he'll have to cast that Evocation and try and come back. Use the spells to come back in the game, but not yet. Now Muzzy is in a little bit of a predicament. The only real play that he has this turn is the Wretched Tutor, but Wretched Tutor Wave of Apathy doesn't really do much. There is a way that he can just make trades and play Imprisoned Vilefiend and then see what happens next turn. But that's pretty weak.
Does seem pretty weak to do something like that, and maybe Muzzy has to just be okay being on the back foot. This is definitely one of the downsides of playing like Highlander decks in general, is that sometimes the curve can be a little awkward because you have ideal cards that you want to play, but you don't get to draw them consistently smooth every single turn. You can see that playing the Raz has paid off in spades for Killen, because he saw the trades, no way to capitalize on Sethnic Veilweaver, no ability to utilize the spell damage that he's been given off of a Mind Flayer Karj. And so now Killen is in the driver's seat. He picks a Mana Cyclone as a way to refill his hand as well if he plays a bunch of spells. He could also just dig for cards first, whether he wants to Arcane Intellect, Wand Thief, and then react off of whatever's been generated.
Yeah.
I wonder.
Got to kind of be careful with Evocation to something, because if he doesn't pick up any big payoff cards, then Mana Cyclone also gets shut off. So you can kind of find yourself in a lose-lose situation where you tried to go for Evocation, tried to end Mana Cyclone, and failed at both. So just kind of protecting the board that he does have now seems not bad, because Muzzy showed last turn that he can only deal with the Raz and not with the Stranglethorn. So why not take the turn to acquire resources? Usually you don't want to try and stay too far ahead of the priest. It's might sound weird, but if you try and stay too far ahead of them, one card can blow you out of the game. Whereas if you just try and stay slightly ahead, it forces them to use their removal inefficiently. And that's kind of what you want, because you only have a limited waves of stuff outside of like crazy random generation, like multiple puzzle boxes and multiple fonts of power, that kind of thing. You will run out of value if you're just like exploding onto the board every turn, and the priest can use one big AoE or something to remove it. So you kind of want to pace it out, protect the stuff you do have, and that's why I like Killen's play last turn.
Yeah, makes sense. He's got so much more now that he's drawn deeper into his deck. And a lot of people might be even wondering, like, why not even go a step further and just like develop tempo by playing Mana Giant? You definitely want to get that as cheap as possible. So, I think that Muzzy's very much in a situation where he has to react. But the good news is that he's got some of the highest impact cards in his deck. All in his hand. These 7, 8, 9 mana golden legendaries: Tiamat, Dragon Queen, Alexstrasza, and Murzon. I like the Tiamat. It feels like that card still has a lot of place in the current metagame, just to give Highlander decks proactive threats. I ran into like a couple of Highlander Hunters actually on ladder this week. I kind of thought it phased out since Face Hunter seems to be more popular, and Tiamat was actually just still destroying while like presenting a big enough threat. And it's because I was playing things like Priest, and I was like, well, I don't have a death and I don't have a way to remove this. I think I'm just going to take the 12 here, and I don't have any choice. Sometimes that happens. So I like Highlander decks, and I think that they're still very powerful in the game. I think Specials is proving that at the moment.
Yeah, I especially like it in Priest because it's the only really proactive 7-drop that they can play. Galakrond and Soul Mirror are the two staples, but those are both generally reactive unless it's like a matchup where you just want value right away, then you maybe play Galakrond proactive. But Tiamat just allows you to put a threat on the board on a turn where you otherwise wouldn't. Kona taking it slow again. I don't mind this. The Prison Biofiend doesn't match up well against this, and again, it's still a little bit too early for Mountain Giant because no Conjurer's Calling to follow up, and not really a great way to capitalize on Mana Cyclone without that much mana to use alongside Evocation. So, but now Muzzy gets to hit these big minions that we were talking about, and one thing that I wanted to point out is Killen came out in as the #1 seed in the Swiss rounds, but his mage deck was largely untested against Priest. Out of the 9 rounds that he played, he only played against one Priest lineup, and that was Bloody Face, and he 2-0'd him in round 8. But that was the only Priest he played, and so it's hard to see whether or not this deck is tested against the majority of the Priest lineups in the field, because we do have 4 out of the 5 players that brought Priest this weekend are in the top 8. So he's going to face more Priest than not as he tries to make his way up into the #1 spot.
That's right. I like your optimism of saying as he makes his way to the #1 spot. There's been no bigger fan on the talent desk of Killing All Day than TJ Sanders, who has merchandise celebrating Killing All Day. In fact, that merchandise is so exclusive, it's, I believe, like 3 of a kind, and TJ owns all 3.
Now, I own 1 out of like 6, I think.
Okay.
I don't know, maybe they made 2nd edition ones. I'm not sure.
Fair enough. All I know is that as Killen's go ahead and ramp up his Mana Cyclone here and still try to make his Mana Giant cheaper, all I know is that I don't think there'll be a bigger Killing All Day fan than TJ Sanders. Maybe not even Killen or his family member or his closest friends. And it's quite endearing to see. Oh, geez. These are some really powerful dragons coming in. But, are these cards generated from Killen going to be enough? He does find some more stall and AoE. Does have the ability to kind of play Mana Giant soon. Does really want to find other ways to capitalize off of his tempo, though. Because if you freeze, what are you doing behind that? If you do play a giant, are you just going to have that giant destroyed and then you're stuck with Chinvala and hope that you can generate enough threats? Or do you go the opposite way and try to develop?
You can go with like Chinvala Kona Cold here. That would involve him picking up 1 mana card from Magic Trick. but it looks like he's going to go differently. Elemental allies. He does have 2 elementals in hand, so he would have to play either the Mana Giant or the Chinvala here in order to make that happen, or he could just stall for 1 more turn and then try and pick up elementals on his next 2. All right, it looks like he is going to go for Mountain Giant this turn, and then the Chinvala turn, which is going to be next turn most likely, to just try and activate that elemental allies.
The future is clear.
All right. Well, Muzzy picks up the Madame Lazul. Sees.
Ooh.
Oh. Okay, so he finds Chinvala, which is pretty useless, considering that he's mainly minions in the hand.
Yeah.
Arcane Intellect is interesting because it helps you find like maybe the impactful spells that you want. But he ends up picking Combustion here because of the Varanus combination, and I like that the most. It's a very powerful clear with some really good tempo. You're talking about tempo options. Muzzy's got some amazing ones this turn by virtue of being able to play this Varanus Combustion and still have mana to develop with the Nosdormu.
Yeah, he's going to have a massive board at the end of this. Let's see, that would be 16, 19, 7, 26. He'd be like almost threatening lethal by playing this Nosdormu. With a Mind Vision in hand, you know, there's small potential that he finds it, but we'll see. Now it's up to Killen. Chinvala will draw the 3 cards from his deck, but unfortunately he did not pick up Sorcerer's Apprentice.
Sorcerer's Apprentice. Yeah.
So there's really a pretty limited comeback potential here. Because he picked up another elemental, there might have to be some sort of desperation attempt here to try and go for evocation. But the 3 cards from the 3 spells from his deck are going to be a little bit more consistent than that. Picks up Devolving Missiles, Primordial Studies, and Conjurer's Calling. Eesh.
Well, okay, so it hits some of the expensive, the high stat minions, and that's kind of a side effect of the Nosdormu being a 4-mana minion, actually downgraded to a shot bot. So actually a pretty good outcome off of that that Devolving Missiles for Killing All Day. He's going to go ahead and use Combustion, try to Mana Cyclone, and he has a lot of life to work with. He even has resources. But one thing that's really interesting, too, is the ability for Murozond to be played right back. As Cobalt's Bilkin comes to the hand, even more resource generation for Muzzy. So Murozond will get Devolving Missiles, Primordial Studies, Combustion. The only thing is that it's just so unreliable with the targets. Combustion, you know, might not really have the impact he's looking for. The Primordial Studies, like spell damage minions, don't really have super high impact in Priest. So it looks like Muzzy's just going to go ahead and dig with a Cobalt Spellkin, just try to get spells that might have impact, like this. Holy Smite and Inner Fire, they can do a little bit of damage on the board here.
Yeah, this is actually some pretty good spells. Holy Smite, that Cobalt Spellkin with Rush will die at the end of the turn, so he's going to want to use that on one of the higher attack minions to save health on his other minions. Wow. I'm really surprised the Inner Fire is going there because it could have some more permanence if it were to go into something else. But I guess this does allow him to push the 7 damage to face with the Brandis, which I think was how he was trying to curate that turn, because at a certain point he does have to put Killen on a clock. Even though he's playing his primary deck, he doesn't have the Archmage Antonidas. There's still big things like Mana Giant into Conjurer's Calling. Without board-wide removal in his hand at the moment, he wants to try and shorten the length of the game as much as possible, so Killen doesn't have time to get those big turns.
Woof. Well, there's a pretty big turn from Killen with the spell damage on the Astromancer Solarian, able to clear off everything. Although Muzzy might have an opportunity for Murozond right back to earn some tempo.
Yeah. Also get him a Astromancer Solarian, which is always good to have, you know? Solarian Prime in the deck. Could be the lethal that he's looking for.
Let's be very honest about how this game is developing, TJ. We might not get a chance to see Muzzy's Astromancer Solarian. Killing All Day might deck out, and the game might be decided before then. Given how Killen's almost in the bottom of his draw pile here. Killen picks up the lab partner, so he's got even more combos. But Conjure's Calling with no good targets. Evocation without Sorcerer's Apprentice. Still no Sorcerer's Apprentice. This is unbelievable at this point for Killen.
Wow. Those bottom 4 cards are Mana Giant, Solarian Prime, Sorcerer's Apprentice. Puzzle Box.
Okay.
Ooh, actually, I think the better choice is probably Font of Power.
No.
Definitely.
It's
the more consistent choice is Font of Power. Because Font of Power can get Archmage Antonitis, but you know what, Dan? Puzzle Box could also give you multiple Archmage Antonitis.
Yes.
Someone's out on me.
Okay, hits a Jandis.
Font of Power is a playable spell off of Puzzle Box. He just missed out on 9 extra spells.
Yeah, oh my god. What?
Another
Oh, he picked the Goose.
Okay. Malagos. I mean, I wasn't really expecting that pick here. I guess Killen's thinking that's a hard minion for Priest to deal with. And if I'm able to stick Malagos onto the board, it's a good target for things like Conjurer's Calling. Or maybe even off of evocation spells. Definitely an interesting choice here for Killen. I thought it was another... I think I would have picked Astromancer Solarian almost every day of the week.
Wonder.
Yeah, I know.
But not the Killen all day of the week.
No. He sees those 3 options and just slaps the goose, Dan.
I mean, maybe it's a sign of how this game is developing, which is it's desperate enough that he has to bank off of some very unlikely scenarios. And I mean, that could be the difference maker, right? Like, I don't even know if Astromancer Solarian would have made the difference because Killen would have to have drawn it. Sorcerer Apprentice finally comes to the hand here for Killen.
I mean, it's got to be evocation, but I guess you dump Lab Partner. There's nothing for 9 mana that you'd want to be able to play, that you'd want mana to play. Oh my gosh, I can't even see. There's a Potion of Illusion, Arcane Explosion, 2 Netherwind Portals, a Blizzard, and a Vape. So I want to do a lot of this stuff.
Yeah, that's kind of the issue about this kind of deck is that you get so many options all the time with these big generating moments. Yeah. I mean, I really want to... I feel like this might be a value situation, but at the same time, you're staring at 12 damage on the board. It's really scary. And he does end up going for the Potion of Illusion value.
I like
Man,
this a lot,
does that feel bad?
He's just putting Solarian Primes in his deck. That's all he's doing.
Yeah.
So his bottom 4 is, I believe, Mana Giant, 2 Solarian Primes, and I want to say Sorcerer's Apprentice, but he might have used a Sorcerer's Apprentice earlier on in the game.
Right.
Oh man,
Muzzy. He knows it's a very high chance for like Vaporize at this point.
Yeah.
Because it's something. It's like, think about it. It's a secret that Killen chose to play from Evocation, so he wants it to be higher impact than just like Mirror Entity.
Yeah.
And I think Muzzy's gonna come to the realization that it's Vaporize pretty soon, or Ice Barrier. I would probably say it's one or the other.
He's still gonna attack face. I think it's still just correct to attack face.
No, he knows. He knows.
Yeah, but even if he 100% knows it's Vaporize, I still think you do it.
Why?
Look at his hand. When else is he gonna attack into it?
I like that Murzon says again as he dies. Oh no, is that a premonition perhaps?
All right, we dropping a goose.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Now we're looking for Pyro.
Font of Power.
Font of Power. The counterspell also had some merit there because you play. I believe. I think there's a Mana Giant left in his deck.
Well, he can steal the Solarian Prime. Or sorry, that's a prime. The Astromancer Solarian, or he can just remove it. I think he's just gonna kill his Malygos. Doesn't trust the generations.
Oh
It's
yeah,
like you
see if
kept
he had
Malygos for a reason.
counterspell. If he picks counterspell, Mana Giant Conjures Calling counterspell. I don't know.
True. It's not like Muzzy doesn't have cheap spells, but oh no! Oh no! These minions don't die to Soul Mirror, TJ.
No, they do not.
But they do provide things in the way.
Yeah, they probably die to Solarian Prime though. Actually, probably
They
not.
provide logistical headaches.
Yes, they do.
The enemy of any successful esport.
I mean, Muzzy just has to last like a turn.
Right,
Killing All Day is just out of stuff. He does have 2 Solarian Primes, and last card, I want to say Source Apprentice, but I'm not sure.
What's so scary about Solarian Prime is drawing any cards. Killen just wants to deal with this board. It picks this Blast Pyroblast! Okay.
Wants to hit.
Solarian Prime doing his thing. Oh! That's a swing and a miss in the last one.
Oh,
Reno the Relicologist when there's no minions in his deck. He chooses the Jandis.
He really likes Jandis, huh?
I guess maybe in his mind, Reno is 6 mana, Jandis is 5. You can play double Jandis to develop the tempo. Reno is kind of like play Reno and then hero power, which I kind of understand that. If that's the line of thinking that he has. And now Muzzy's kind of in trouble where he needs to do or die or pick up Zephyrus.
He knows what the secret is because Solarian Prime will show you if a secret is repeated, like the Netherwind Portal was there. It'll show you what secret it is. So he knows that it's not counterspell. He could go for Twisting Nether here, but knows that there's 2 Font of Power minions left in the deck or in the hand, and knows that the second Solarian Prime will be guaranteed. He also knows that there's a Potion of Illusioned Sorcerer's Apprentice. So he's got a lot of information here.
Yeah, I think that Zephyr. I mean, I guess maybe in his mind, he just has to last a little bit long enough. Oh, Shadow Word Ruin for tempo? Interesting, because then you can keep his Zephyrus as far as he knows. Oh, jeez.
Proud defender.
What makes something?
I mean, if he has no minions on the field, it's a 4/6. He chose to actually play Jandis first. Kind of wonder if that's... I guess he's going to be trading into the Zephyrus, right? So it's not like he wanted to actually attack face.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I assume so. Now he kind of has to, or else he looks kind of silly.
What makes something real?
Ooh, okay. Azurite Elemental. And if that gains spell damage and you play Astromancer Solarian, there may be some big fireworks. But the Cabal Shadow Priest... Oh, wait. Solarian Prime right back. Ah! Not a good start so far.
I mean, these are... Okay, you drew a card and Mirror Entity. All right, yeah, that was pretty lackluster.
You don't pick.
See Muzzy mouth what? Radiance? Oh, that's just BM Hearthstone.
know,
Why would you give that to
man.
Muzzy of all people?
Oh, jeez.
That's just rude. Okay, so
You just...
Killen first has to defuse the secret. I think that could be catastrophic if it goes wrong.
Well, I mean, at this point, your only hope of winning really is just to go all face and then play Solarian Prime. I guess not. I guess he doesn't have to play it now, but... Okay, not counterspell.
Someday I'll be just like you. Someday I'll be just like you.
Ooh, okay.
Oh.
Just kind of leaving it up. Saying, you know what? I gotta pressure you. Oh, wow, Galakron. Galakron could be so big because Muzzy can stall and then use Kronk to clean it up, and then Killen really is just stuck in a tough spot there. I wonder if he wants to play a little bit more tempo on the board instead, though. Like, he could play Cabal Shadow Priest, steal the Elemental to 2/7, then play Ray of Frost, and just clean up a little bit of the board and just try to outlast Killen. Because he should know the last 2 cards in the hand, right? He should know there's another Sorcerer's Apprentice.
And Solarian
He should
Prime.
also, and the Solarian Prime. So it is Galakron.
Ooh.
Okay.
Oh, whoa.
So the educated Alec.
Oh,
which
no.
Is not. Okay.
He has to
I mean,
kill
you
it.
kill it immediately. Yeah.
But then you leave the Quartz Elemental up.
Yes, but like, Alec is a guarantee versus.
Well, you know this is Solarian
The-
Prime, so it's going to cast spells, so he gets +2 spell
Right.
damage.
Right, but there's a chance that it doesn't happen, right? It's not
Yeah.
100% guaranteed. It's just very, very likely.
Ooh, all right. So there's going to be +3 spell damage, and there is also currently 4, 5, 11 damage on board. So this essentially has to deal 18 points of damage or generate enough value to where he won't die to fatigue.
I wonder.
It can't draw cards. From his perspective, he doesn't care about that, but if he draws cards, he'll just die to the Kronk's Battle Cry. There's always the argument of do you attack first also, because it could cast Puzzle Box and you could get Savage for Bloodlust.
Right.
Low
I mean,
odds,
here we
though.
go. the last
man.
push here from Killen. Okay.
Useless. Oh!
Oh.
Oh no!
Oh,
he drew cards. And he has
drawing
5 spell
cards!
damage, he's dead.
Ah!
3 spell damage.
He's taking so much damage. Wait,
What?
he costs the puzzle box too. There's no way he heals enough, right?
His cards aren't playable.
Oh no! Wait, glide and evocation. What a combo! DJ, he did it. Killen found a way to avoid fatigue.
Oh wait, the court. Oh, the court. I forgot the Quartz Elemental was on the board for 1 turn before that too, so he actually had +7 spell damage, or +5. I think I was right there the first time. +5. It's a lot. What? Imagine if he hadn't killed himself. How sick that turn would have been.
Oh, jeez. What a finish to game number 1 here in week 3. You can see Muzzy probably still processing what he just watched, because if he didn't kill himself, let's say evocation, glide, and there was no card draw, I think Killen was favored from that position. He just he generated 10 random spells and shuffled it into his deck. It was like academic espionage.
Yeah.
It almost felt like he just found a way to anti-fatigue.
Then he
Just
potioned
that,
evolution.
he didn't
also
draw
at the
too
end.
many cards.
Like it was about as much value as you could actually hope for in fatigue from a puzzle box, from a Solarian Prime. It's just he drew 7 cards first thing when he was in fatigue, so that'll come back to bite you. But now we get to talk about the most exciting part about Specialist Stand, the secondary and tertiary decks. Woo!
That's right. So the secondary decks and tertiary decks work like so. You get to choose 5 cards to flex for your primary deck, and you get to choose to do as many of them as you want. You could theoretically just change 1 card and just be like, I just want a single weapon destruction card. But, some players end up choosing to tech them for specific classes, like Priest, which has a 53% win rate in the Americas. And if you're going into this weekend anticipating Priest, you might have some anti-priest cards, which involve things like making spells more expensive, or the battle cry minions more expensive, or maybe some combo damage. Killen, we'll see if he ends up choosing that. We don't get the we don't know whether or not they selected immediately. We just have to tell you based on some of the cards that get pulled up. But so far, everything looks pretty standard. And from Muzzy's side,
he's not switching.
I don't think I see anything different either.
No, he's not. Muzzy's not going to switch. His secondary deck is specifically for warriors and rogues, and his tertiary deck is specifically for the mirror. There is an argument that he could use his tertiary deck because it has Headmaster Kel'Thuzad, Shadow Word Ruin, and like Thought Steal, but he also takes out Breath of the Infinite and Mind Render Elusia, which are two cards that are kind of crucial in Mage, and you can already tell that there's a Breath of the Infinite opening hand, so he didn't change. And yeah, Killen is playing his secondary deck, which minor changes. It takes out two of the two mirror image. It's in one Boomtossable and one Archmagus. But the problem is a situation like this, where because you're taking out cheap spells that can activate Mana Cyclone, that can kind of help you dump your hand in order to make room to draw cards or play Evocation. You have a heavier hand earlier on, so you're more likely to fall behind on tempo. But the payoff is that in the late game, in situations like last game, Killen can protect the big board with Boom Pistol Bully, or he can play Archmage Antonidas to get burned to go over the top, so he doesn't have to rely on a all-in Solarian Prime. So with a matchup as close as the last one, with Killen switching decks and Muzzy staying on the same deck, you'd think that Killen would have the advantage, but I did find these expensive inclusions for Killen a little bit awkward against Priest.
That does make sense, and this awkwardness seems to be something that we experienced ourselves, watching the matchups play in our practice sessions. And you can see that Muzzy kind of like torn if he wants to develop for tempo here and just leave up Chinvala on the other side of things. It's definitely not a pleasant feeling when your opponent plays Chinvala and you can't really answer it.
Oh, he's got just all of his big threats in his opening hand. Just has to play Mana Cyclone to activate a Wand Thief, which feels just terrible. Finds no significant value generation from that, though. But, I mean, he does have a decent amount of tempo. So he can kind of force Muzzy to react, which he will do. Chrono Breaker with a dragon in hand, that could really help clean up this board. It's a big enough stat line to where it won't just flop over.
That's right.
He also has Wretched Tutor plus spells, so that can help clean up as well. He's got a lot of options moving forward. He's not really worried about these types of minions, and he's probably also seen that Killing All Day has been playing pretty inefficiently. The Chinvala played on 3 with no follow-up except for a Mana Cyclone played for no value just to activate a Wand. He's got to be feeling pretty confident to just kind of play out some cards.
Yeah, and Killen doesn't exactly have the punish either, so all's well that ends well for Muzzy's turn 4. Killen has the Jandis, which seems to be just kind of the slam for big tempo for Mage. Alternatively,
What to do?
Take his 5 turn.
Yeah. He could just kill and try to summon that 5/5, and I think that's just better overall. It's just guaranteed stats. I think he senses his time is limited with Chinvala, so he wants to capitalize on it while he can. Despite using some cheap spells that combo with other things like Archmage Antonidas.
Mm-hmm. Ooh. But now his only way to guaranteed kill the Chinvala is the Breath of the Infinite, which he can play an Envoy of Lazul alongside, but That's giving a lot of initiative over to Killing all day.
Your head isn't as in.
He did play those spells off the top, and the way he played that Mana Cyclone, I don't feel like an overreaction is necessary. I might even just still develop for tempo and go for something like a Chrono Breaker here.
Right.
But I don't know. He played Mana Cyclone. What did he?
Oh.
Oh man, it's so hard to evaluate decisions from the
Right.
Envoy of Lazul because we can see the hands, but just the way that he played, you really don't expect. I don't know. I don't expect Firebrand and Sorcerer's Apprentice to be there when he played a Mana Cyclone to activate a Wand Thief.
Right. It's pretty tricky.
Yeah. Wow.
Maybe Muzzy didn't want the card.
I mean, that's a possibility as well. Or maybe in a lot of situations, you pick the from Envoy of Lazul. If you're not 100% sure, you just pick the one that you like the best. And if you get it, you get it. If you don't, you don't. But Sorcerer's Apprentice doesn't work that well with this deck. Neither does Firebrand. So,
Right.
honestly, he might want Jandis the most out of those three.
Fair enough. It does seem to be a matchup where if you get that tempo that we were talking about, you can just pressure the mage enough to the point where they have to kind of rely on an all-in Hail Mary. Okay, so
Good. Raise dead and go again with the Envoy of Lazul.
yeah, I wouldn't advise that. The Breath of Infinite does look tempting, but you don't fill up the rest of your mana, so you're just kind of accepting the 8 damage from the Giant, and you still have a problem with the Giant later on. At the same time, not acknowledging this Chinvala might be biting off more than you actually want to chew, because you might summon more 5/5. This is definitely an unusual and tricky situation here for Muzzy, just because he's limited by mana.
Yeah.
Wretched Tutors. Definitely something to think about. Chooses to play the Convincing Infiltrator here. Looks like he wants to maybe save the Wretched Tutor for a different scenario. I guess he didn't have a spell to play with that. For some reason, I still thought he had a 0 mana spell in hand. He can't obviously activate it. So Killen picks up the Cram session here, and he does kind of want to think about how he wants to go about developing here versus playing for this Antonitis out.
Yeah. He could go like Jandis with a trade and a ping with the 5/1. And that allows him to push 10 in most scenarios. Oh jeez. I mean, Azure Explorer lets him draw the most cards.
Sure,
So
I like that.
Azure Explorer and Cram Session. Unfortunately, it's not cheap enough to where he can get another 5/5. Regardless of what he picks up from this. Well, I guess maybe I'll speak too soon. He could still pick up a single 1 mana spell.
Okay, Devolving Missiles just
Is
a
5/1.
little bit too expensive right now. Okay.
Oh,
wow.
okay.
Siamat. We talked about how it could be a really high impact proactive threat, but also a reactive card. As Muzzy dries off his mouth, salivating at the idea of Siamat hitting 7.
Oh, this is weird because it's just Mage playing big threats and Priest having to respond. It doesn't always work like that. A lot of times it's Mage playing a bunch of cheap minions and cheap spells, and Priest trying to wrestle tempo. But now it's Muzzy just trying to take as much power off the board as he can each turn, or put stuff in the way, spend his mana as efficiently as possible. Wretched Tutor from Breath of the Infinite clears up everything, but leaves the Mana Giant up. It does look like Siamot's still to clear, but Muzzy's kind of flirting with disaster by leaving the Shenvala up for so long. It feels like eventually he will get punished. You know, as soon as Killing All Day picks up a Sorcerer's Apprentice, his day is going to be ruined. Oh, okay. Actually, no, the
Yeah.
Wind Fury makes more
I
sense. Well, I
like
don't know.
it.
'Cause- yeah, I guess.
Okay, I can tell you why I like it. I like it because he's seen Killen draw a bunch of cards, and he also has seen him hold a lot of cards because he's been holding like the 3 left cards for a while, and that could be like, you know, evocation, and like the moment he hits Sorcerer's Apprentice, he's gonna have to deal with a big threat, and he's not prepared for Chinvala. Spell damage means he'll take 2 extra off of arcane missiles or like a fireball or something. Extra 5/5s means he's dead.
Yeah.
So I think that's the reasoning.
That is some terrible drops. Holy
Those
moly.
are some Hearthstone cards. Yeah, I agree.
I don't think it would have mattered much in this situation, though. Just because Muzzy... it might make Muzzy have to not react as violently as he would have if, you know, one of those 5/5s were bigger, but some type of AoE was slated for this turn regardless. I'd be surprised if he doesn't. I mean, it ain't matter Dragon Queen Alexstrasza. There's 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 damage on board. I mean, come on. You never die.
You rarely die.
Fair.
Agreed, though. I think that generally you are big chillin'. Muzzy, wow, again. Mind vision to see what he can pull from the mage's hand.
Ooh.
Sees the Archmage hand tonight. It's like, okay. I mean, I think he already suspected as such, right? Like he's been holding a lot of cards.
Yeah. I mean, if you pull the trigger on Archmage tonight this turn, he gets 3 fireballs out of it.
I wonder.
It's very likely that he can kill the Kobold on board because Devolving Missiles will bring it down to a 2. And then if Muzzy goes for a big removal, he drops a Nixia behind it.
True mastery takes
What, Raz
All right,
instead.
Frost.
A lot of spell damage, actually. Actually, a ton of
Yeah.
spell damage. Actually,
I was just
5
thinking
spell
about this.
damage. What?
I kind of forgot the Azure Explorer was like there. It's a lot of damage. It's a lot of tempo. That's kind of wild.
Wait, Murzon.
Murzon right back deals
3.
3 everything right. Yeah, what is happening?
Yeah, but then he still leaves up the Raz?
What is a loon's will?
I guess that's okay.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's fine. Like, you're playing so many minions. You're also getting a Solarian.
Killen's like, all right, but the thing is, Killen's pretty close now that he has the Archmage Antonius, and I don't think Priest can outlast the burn. I think in Killen's mind, he's wondering, is that overextending? Am I just being careless by the fact that there is a lot of damage on the other side of the board that I might just get counter-lethal if I'm not careful?
So, he's seen Apotheosis, which I think makes this play a little bit better. Makes this play a little bit more palatable. You don't want to see Apotheosis on a Raz.
Yeah, I mean, that's just ridiculously powerful.
Yeah.
Evolving missiles.
Ooh!
Oh, all right.
Wow, okay. And Killen actually has the double Sorcerer's Apprentice, triple Fireball in hand. So I don't think Muzzy will expect that. He might think that even if he cleared this, he could heal out of range. But honestly, he wouldn't be able to heal out of range anyway because he does. Well,
Yeah.
I mean, he barely even has a clear, let alone
Okay.
even more heal.
What is a loon's will?
Maybe that was what was wrong. I think in our practice games, we never really saved Sorcerer's Apprentice for situations like this to be able to... I think it was just mainly like tempo, right? That's kind of the way we were practicing.
It is finished.
Yeah.
Muzzy looks super dead.
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of funny how it worked out because Killin actually tried to play for combo, but it didn't work out, and then his hand just said, all right, play for combo then, or, you know, however. And it turns out he didn't even need the double Sorcerer's Apprentice at the end there because just Fireball would have been enough. Muzzy with the Desperation, Dragon Queen Alexstrasza, but it seemed like it changed the matchup because that Archmage Antonidas would have been a mirror image, which may have given him an extra 5/5 early on in the game with Shinvala, but it was likely to be answered and gave him the burn damage to hold out. So now we're all tied up, and it looks like Killin's secondary deck is a match for Muzzy's Priest.
Right. So I don't think Muzzy really needs to change anything. I mean, that's kind of where the dynamic of people playing a class that people are targeting with their second and tertiary decks. It's tricky because Muzzy has, as you mentioned, like anti-weapon tech, and then has tech for the mirror, but not necessarily a tech against like Mage, where he's not playing like Living Dragon Breath, which I'm sure would have been a helpful tech against certain matchups like Killin. So it's intriguing, right? And with the Highlander Priest, theoretically, you should be able to fit all these tech cards in, and yet, despite that, doesn't seem to have an answer to the Mage.
Yeah, I mean, Highlander Priest in general is just kind of, it's just a mashup of different tools and different combos of tools. And so when you look at it holistically, it seems like it would work, right? Because you theoretically have an answer to anything. But when you start drawing each of those things one at a time, and you look at your hand and it's just a bunch of random minions, then it kind of looks like it has glaring weaknesses. But
Right.
over a large sample size,
Give me strength.
those tools and those combos will come together more often than not. And that's why you see the Priest players having success. That's why you saw that 53% win rate, which may not seem like a lot, but when compared to some of the other decks in the field, like Rogue, it is a lot. So it just needs to find the right pieces, and that's what happened in game number 1. Muzzy had a lot of good early removal, and then he followed that up with big threats to put Killinallday on the back foot, put him on a Desperation Slayer in Prime. This last game, he just had a bunch of minions, not enough mana to play them all, and kill and push him out of the game. So we'll see how this one ends up being different. Muzzy's on coin. Doesn't matter too much, but it does mean that Killin doesn't have coin, which he likes, because that coin makes Mana Giant cheaper, it makes Mana Cycle in turns more powerful. Accelerates the game plan for the Temple Mage. And another expensive hand draws both of his secondary deck inclusions in the opening hand, the Boom Pistol Bully and Archmage Antonidas. It worked out for him last game with an expensive hand, but we'll see if it'll work out for him this game.
So, I think another thing too was that Muzzy didn't really have the right reactive curve to his deck, and I think that this time around he looks much better equipped. Boom Pistol Bully, and that even though he doesn't have to pick that card, that information is super valuable to understand. Like, this is the way he can lock me out. I have to be mindful of this. Because when that Bully's played, cards like Animated Broomstick, Minor into Lucia, Aeon Reaver, those cards become borderline unplayable.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, wow. Evocation.
I will always take a nice little backup evocation. Okay, so last game in this spot, he did play a Mana Cyclone just to activate Wand Thief and just to play out on the board for a little bit of tempo. But with the evocation picked up from the Wand Thief, that might change things because it could open up spots for the Mana Cyclone. The only issue I see right now is hand space. How much value can you honestly expect from an evocation Mana Cyclone combo when you have 3 expensive cards on the left side of your hand that you can't dump prior to it? So it's, even though it has potential, on average, it's not super valuable. I think it's more of a later on in the game, once he's expended these big threats, then he can try and refill with the Evocation Mana Cyclone. Oh, now those are 5 drops, Dan. Muzzy's showing us how it's done. No 3-3s and 1-1s. Give me some 6-4s. Give me some 2-5s.
2-5s.
This is a
What a
7
world
plus
it
in
is, where
stats
we're like-
only, Dan.
What
Yeah,
is
I
a
don't know. Being
loon's
happy with the
will?
2-5 still seems kind of. I think I'd rather. I want the Stranglethorn Tigers and,
The mortuary machines.
Yeah.
The
Venture
Rusteed
Co.
Raiders.
Mercenary. I mean, a Raz here would be so sick.
Oh.
He found the Raz!
Ooh. All right,
I mean,
so you
That's so
always,
good, right?
Yeah, that's very good. The only problem
Oh,
is that if he picked the apothecary,
What to do?
you don't kill the Gladebound, and the Gladebound just trades over your Raz.
I think we're still okay with that, because we get to clear off 3 of his 4 minions and push damage and have board.
Yeah, no,
he has
that's
to
true.
trade into Raz now.
That's true.
Yeah, I think that a lot of people in these kinds of matchups that are very, like, they have this delicate seesaw of tempo and value, kind of regularly find themselves in a situation where they're over-obsessing about one or the other. They're either too focused on tempo and try to, like, play too many of their resources, and then Priest or Mage is able to deal with their board, and they're too far behind in the resource battle. Or the other side of they try to look too much for value, and fail to realize that if they just generate some tempo, they're going to be okay. And I think that Muzzy, depending on what he steals here, steals the Raz. Wow. I mean, that's tempo and value. There's not really much to say about that. Either way, I still approve of the way Killing All Day played that previous turn. I think it was correct.
Yeah. All right. Well, there's Source's Apprentice. Can go for a Source's Apprentice evocation turn here. Though
Someday I'll be just like you.
not a ton of mana to be working with here. If he wants to play Mana Cycle in the back of this, he needs a lot of one mana spells. Does find
Okay.
some. Wow. Okay, that's
Sure.
finds
It's
Arcane
a
Relic,
lot.
Primordial Studies, Mirror Image.
Okay, Thanos. Mirror Image. Do you want to just jam that Mana Cyclone now? I suppose so, right? You've already played so many spells.
Yeah. The problem is the couple evocation spells are going to be wasted, but he can fill up his hand and then not worry about overdrawing. 4 spells. Let's see what they are. Okay.
Yeah, so he has a Flame Strike next turn, which is solid.
Yeah.
Okay, so if Muzzy can find another spell damage minion, I mean, this Raz has got killing checked. He can go as far as to dig with Mindrender Lucia, but we know that that's not the answer.
He could just Wretched Tutor and Raise Dead.
Oh,
Like,
you're right.
Grid's getting
For some reason, I thought that was a Cabal Acolyte. But yes, you are correct. That just clears everything off.
Yeah. I mean, I think Killing All Day
Way down
probably
that is.
expected something to clear this board.
Right.
You know, that wasn't the point of the board, but it would have been nice for it to stick. He at least gets the Solarian Prime in his deck, but he's behind on tempo, which is actually a pretty big deal. And everything in his hand is so expensive. One of the upsides of his hand being so expensive is that if Muzzy plays Mindrender, Killen's probably going to get more value out of that Mindrender than Muzzy will, because he'll have a full turn's worth of mana instead of a full turn -3 for the Mindrender. So, well, we'll have to see about that one. Let's see what the options are. Flame Strike, not great. Combustion does deal a good amount of damage, but not enough to clean anything up. Jandis,
What to
not
do?
great into a Raz on the other side of the board, because 2 of those minions that you're going to get are going to die instantly. Chenbala, too expensive. So just play a Mana Giant, protect your board with a Boom Pistol Bully, hope he doesn't have a big spell. 1, 2,
Yeah.
3, 4, 5, 6. Every minion in Muzzy's hand is battle cry.
Wow, we talked about value, right? I mean, that's a high value boom pistol bully. Adding 20 or 30 mana to Muzzy's hand collectively. Shadow Word Death right off the top, killing again. Unhappy to see that. And from his perspective, this was a clean turn from Muzzy, even though Muzzy had much better plans. Had he drawn, like, had he been able to play Tiamat, he would have been in a really good tempo position.
Yeah. Oh! Alright!
Wow.
I mean, that's really all he's got.
Didn't that die just 2 turns ago?
There was another one that died early on, right? Hasn't there been 2?
Yeah, I'm saying. Oh my
Puzzle Box!
goodness!
No way! Alright,
So
let's
more
see.
spells. Wait, what's happening though? He's buffing his opponent's board.
This has all been bad.
Astromancer Solarian usually targets the enemy, but in this case, Puzzle Box can copy anything. Woo! Oh no! Okay.
What? No,
I've
he
lost
burned
track.
the whole combo. Wait, that's it?
Okay, so
Alright.
was it the 5th spell of Astromancer that casted? Either way, it was chaotic.
Yeah.
He casted Ancient Mysteries, then Magic Trick, then Ice Barrier, then Puzzle Box, and then I think 10 spells cast, and I think the last one kind of kicked into play there.
Yeah. So, another thing to note, he burned Sorcerer's Apprentice, Mana Cyclone, and Magic Trick. Or was it Ray of Frost? They all just popped up on the screen. The important ones are Mana Cyclone and Sorcerer's Apprentice. So now he has no more Sorcerer's
I believe
Apprentice,
you're
Mana
correct.
Cyclone.
It was Magic Trick, Mana Cyclone, and Sorcerer's Apprentice.
Okay. And Muzzy actually has
What is a loon's will?
a decent way to clean up this board. With just Aeon Reaver.
Your future
And you can even go like animated broomstick. And just double, triple trade. So he ruled out Mirror Entity. Just gonna heal him, let it sit here. Hope there's not another random potion of illusion that's generated. This hand is so expensive. He's got 3 arcane intellects in his hand.
There's no way he's going to be able to play all of this stuff. I mean, he's going to most likely fatigue by that point. Killen is
Yeah.
certainly in a position where he's going to have to make some sacrifices somewhere. Oh, it's too bad as well, the Flame Strike. Okay, Devolving Missiles.
Yeah, Aeon Reaver's not the most enticing target to devolving missiles, though.
Okay, Arcane Breath and Combustion.
Arcane Breath and Combustion is a clear, yes. If only he had played the Shinvala first.
It's true, but there's no way that you should be able to tell that. It's too hard.
Wait. Not a clear.
Okay. It's okay though. It's clearing off the Astromancer, or sorry, the Raz.
Yeah. If he had gone Arcane Breath onto the Aeon Reaver to bring it down to 1, then Combustion. Oh no, he wouldn't have been able to ping off because it would have only been 5 damage. So not a clear.
Is a loon's
So the
will?
secrets up are Counterspell and... I don't even know the second one.
Ice Barrier, I
Ice
believe.
Barrier, okay.
Because it was off the puzzle box. No, it was right before the puzzle box.
Yeah, something along those lines.
I feel like we're scientists trying to do carbon predating at this point. Like, well, I estimate that this was about 6 turns ago with Puzzle Box of Yogg-Saron. I was like, bro, it's anybody's guess, but you're probably right. Animated Broomstick, getting the opportunity to answer the board immediately. Muzzy's pretty much on the same plan as he was in the first game, which was survive.
Yep, and
That's good news for Killen, actually. That's very good news.
Well, the Ogre Student's really annoying. Because every time he casts a spell, it summons a 2/2 taunt. Ogre Student? Is that what it's called? Nah, Ogre something.
What to do? What to do?
Still a
What
counterspell
makes
up.
something real?
Could help try and invalidate this Zephyrus that Muzzy's been holding on to. But he's got some value to get through before that happens because he still has Tiamat. Mind Render just is going to be such a weird card for Muzzy to want to play because of just how Killen's turns have been. They have not been ultra
Oh
powerful.
my.
Wow, okay, those are some good
Those are
5
much
drops.
better than 2/1s.
Oh, Plague of Death. But there's a counterspell up, and Muzzy's checked
Right.
for a good amount of things now. Actually, no, he hasn't checked for a good amount of things. He's only checked for Mirror Entity.
Right. He could answer a good amount of it through
I
Tiamat,
wonder.
Rush, and Wind Fury.
Yeah, he could.
Is there any like other weird Zephyrus plays, like Zephyrus into
Your
now
wish
as a
is
counter
my
spell? I mean, it'll offer you Flare as well, right?
Yeah, but then what do you do after the flare? No, it does. Whoa. 2 secrets up, no flare.
Oh.
Just
Natalie Celine for tempo?
you
Sounds
could.
pretty interesting.
Haste.
You
So
could
he's
twist into
still-
there now, activate the counter spell, then play take it the following turn. That sounds like a pretty big gamble, though, with so much power on the board.
Okay. I mean, Tyrion can help activate his Clavebound Adept. He also has the protection of the Ogre something, the guy that summons a 2/2 taunt every time he casts a spell. So that's actually really annoying for Killen to deal with. He could just pretty cleanly kill it off with a Flame Strike. He could Flame Strike, then Devolving Missiles.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, it kind of depends if he hits the right target with devolving missiles, right? It could be completely a big whiff
no,
if it hits
Flame
Zephyrus.
Strike
What
first.
to do?
Okay.
Do. Time runs out on us.
He's okay with giving him the weapon?
I suppose so, because, like, there's taunts in the way, and, like, if he does, he's exchanging his life for clearing the board. Maybe Killen just feels like he can just chill here.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, he obviously doesn't know the Glavebound Adept's there, but not that that matters. I think the biggest thing is he doesn't want to use any of his 1-mana spells. That's probably it. Because right now he has
Right.
barely any ways to activate Archmage Antonidas, and that's his way to
I
close out the
wonder.
game. And still, Muzzy has yet to test for counterspell. He's going to see what's in the hand, but there's really not that much.
Yeah, there's ways to activate the spells, though, or the secrets. And devolving missiles can also help a ton here. Yes,
mean,
there's a lot of things that he can potentially do. He wants to get Chinvala value. I think he sees the counterspell in the hand too,
I
which
wonder.
might indicate to Muzzy that counterspell is one of the secrets up.
Cold in here.
Yeah.
Or is it just me?
And that doesn't actually count towards a Chinvala, so he actually doesn't get the Chinvala value that he's looking for.
Yeah, I mean, he does dump the cheap spells for the Archmage Antonidas and isolates the hand.
Right.
But now Killen gets to take the Tiamat. Oh!
Wait. Okay, hold on. Let's think about
Yeah.
this. You just think.
Tiamat
you
in
play-
Prison Vile Fiend. I don't know.
Right, because Plague of Death's in the hand too. So if you play Dragon Queen and you're expecting your opponent to play Plague of Death right after.
Yeah. So
If you
want
play
him-
Tiamat,
So yeah, if you play Dragon Queen Alexstrasza and dump one of the 1-mana dragons, then your opponent just Plague of Deaths and plays the other 1-mana dragon, and then you're behind. Whereas if you play Tiamat and he Plague of Deaths, then you have Imprisoned Vile Fiend loaded up and you get full initiative knowing that they can't play anything beside it. So yeah, I like this better.
This
And then-
does make sense.
Muzzy also knows it's an Archmage Antonidas in hand, so if Muzzy goes for Plague of Death here, he develops nothing else. Killen just goes Archmage Antonidas Counterspell, and then even if Muzzy picked up a spell off the top that deals with it, the Archmage Antonidas sticks, unless you have to attack in Glavebound Adept, but then you
Right,
kill him
but
with the
Ice
fireball that
Barrier.
you just generated.
Yeah,
So-
the Ice Barrier negates 8 of that damage, so... It looks like Killen is in a good position to lock this one up. Muzzy sits back, kind of ready to accept his fate, but at the same time, Killen doesn't pick up cheaper spells. Is it Antonidas and then Counterspell? Is it draw cards and try to hope that you can pick up combo later in the game?
What to do?
This timing window is so crucial for Killen and needs to nail it. Otherwise, he could be giving up his only window to win the game because if you look at the quality of the hand outside the Antonidas, Muzzy's got him beat.
Yeah. Because if he attacks Glavebound Adepts, he dies. Cobalt Spellkin into Renew plus something else. You dump the other thing. Is that more likely than Dragon Queen Alexstrasza?
I don't think so.
Nope. He's
Ooh,
dead.
knows Dormu cheese. Quick, maybe Killen's not. Oh, look
Hope
at.
he's not paying attention.
Well played.
All right, well that's gonna do it.
Well played.
Muzzy tosses up the well play. Killing all day. First time on broadcast for a Grandmaster. Starting off with a series win 2-1 over Muzzy. It's specialist. It's best of 3. It's Killing all day's year.
Yeah, and a nice little comeback for him too. That first game was pretty close, and then just 2 tech conclusions. The Boom Postable and Archmage Antonidas did just offer him, a couple more layered threats, and despite some times we had awkward hands, he made use of those awkward hands really well by just playing a threat every turn and not letting Muzzy get too far ahead. So I also like the play at the end there with Mind Render, kind of, thinking through it, not playing the flashy play of Dragon Queen Alexstrasza, instead just making sure he had a guaranteed empty board Archmage Antonidas Counterspell to lock things out. So he's still not in the top 4 yet. Got to win one more against either ETC or No Hands Gamer. But nice little start there for Killing all day with the Temple Mage.
Right, and he'll await the winner of ETC and No Hands Gamer, which should be a fun one because that's Malik Ghost Druid going up against another Priest, as it does seem to be the weekend of Priest, and who can take them down. And of course, the storylines behind the players. ETC, a player that represents a lot more than just